On April 5th, 2009, the Phenom, The Undertaker, and the Heartbreak Kid Shawn Michaels clashed like two titans to produce the greatest match in WrestleMania history. And then there was the rest of the card, including Triple H versus Randy Orton in the main event. Anyway, I'm John Renton with the Retro Review WWE WrestleMania 25, the silver anniversary of WrestleMania. Even though if you go into semantics, it actually wasn't technically the 25th anniversary, but nevertheless, facts never got in the way of Vince McMahon producing the granddaddy of them all. It's such good shit, pal. Ha ha ha. Yeah, this Mania is not exactly regarded as the greatest WrestleMania of all time. It wasn't even close to the greatest WrestleMania of all time, even back in 2009. But Undertaker versus Shawn Michaels, the greatest match in WrestleMania history. Fight me in the comments if you want. Various people, said for a long time it was Steamboat versus Randy Savage from WrestleMania 3. That is arguably the second or maybe third greatest WrestleMania match of all time. Still classic, still holds up. Absolutely tremendous. 93,173 people, 78,000 people actually going absolutely insane for Steamboat winning the Intercontinental Championship. And some would say Ultimate Warrior versus Hogan as far as a monumental clash, even though it wasn't technically a classic, because really when Hogan's the best worker out of the two in the ring, whoo boy, by the way, fuck the Ultimate Warrior, I'm glad he's dead, but boy, Bret versus Piper was tremendous. Maybe not the greatest ever, but definitely tremendous. And then you had Randy Savage versus Ric Flair on the same Mania 8 card. And then Bret versus Owen. And Bret versus Bob Backlund, not so much. Bret versus Shawn, Iron Man match, WrestleMania 12. Bret versus Austin, Mania 13. Bret Hart is my favorite wrestler of all time. I will always praise Bret Hart. Shawn Michaels helping to produce numerous classics. Hell, the triple threat at Mania 20 was one of the best matches. Even though it featured renowned child and wife murderer Chris Benoit. But there were so many great, monumentally tremendous moments and matches in WrestleMania history, but Undertaker versus Shawn Michaels, the best. Nothing is going to beat it. Because it was the thrill ride, it was the fact that these two, they never had a better match after this. Mania 26 came close as far as the streak versus the career, and I still argue that Undertaker never had a better match after this. I still say he never did. I'm not saying his other matches weren't pretty goddamn good, but let's be honest, by the end of an era, maybe that match was CM Punk. This is pretty much the pinnacle right there. So, Houston, Texas, Reliance Stadium, 73,000 fans going absolutely insane. This is definitely a one-match show, though there were some other matches that had moments. But this was a pendulum goddamn show, and once Shawn versus Taker ended, the crowd was exhausted. They were totally goddamn exhausted. And the main event did not help one bit. So, what's the greatest WrestleMania moment? I mean, there are a lot. Up to this point, up to the point of 2009, I still gotta say Hogan slamming Andre. I almost think that's like the main moment I think of when I think of WrestleMania. I mean, even though I'll continue to say what I've said about Hogan because of shit that he's done and everything. But as far as moments, that was the moment. That's the moment that defines WrestleMania. That is something that will be played 100, 1,000 years from now when this earth is no longer around and the archives are up in space and the aliens have taken over and everything and taken the last few humans. And it's like Titan AE all up in this bitch. They're going to remember Hogan versus Andre. But what is your favorite WrestleMania moment? What is your favorite? I mean, hell, Warrior beating Hogan. I mean, even though I've said what I've said about Warrior, that was a big goddamn moment. Savage and Elizabeth reuniting at WrestleMania 7 the following year. What a woman, what a man. Must have had a chili dog with onions. It's a lot of great shit here. Anyway, your favorite WrestleMania moment. Go ahead. You can name your top 5 if you'd like. So, Nicole, whatever the hell, of the Pussycat Dolls, sings America the Beautiful. Singing in the largest quotations that my fingers won't even allow. I can't make my fingers that big enough to do the quotations. It's a good thing she looked good, because singing was not something that she was very good at. Or maybe it was just a bad mic. Or maybe the Pussycat Dolls just looked good and couldn't actually sing. They loosened up their buttons, but never decided to loosen up and actually try to sing, because they probably didn't have a lot of talent. Anyway, Needed more pyro for that intro. A lot more pyro. I don't think WWE WrestleMania events have enough pyro. So, Shoot the Thrill was kind of badly dubbed over. Very, very badly dubbed over. Certainly would have liked another musical performance be dubbed over. JR welcomes us. And we go straight to the Money in the Bank match. JR, Lawler, and Cole on the call. Easy for me to say. The pre-show match, by the way, was Miz and Morrison against Primo and Epico, the Colognes, in a lumberjack match to unify the tag titles, and the Colognes taking a stab at, winning a match just like their dad did to Bruiser Brody. So anyway, moving on from that, the Colognes won. And then Miz and Morrison broke up. It's shocking to think that this was almost 14 years ago. And Miz is still wrestling. The fact that Miz has had pretty much almost a 20-year wrestling career, it's pretty goddamn wild. So anyway, CM Punk versus Christian versus Finlay with, unfortunately, Hornswoggle, who I'm sure is a nice guy, but it was a joke to have him involved in this. Versus Kofi Kingston, when Kofi Kingston was actually Jamaican before his mother spilled the beans on the Ghana, West Africa thing and all that. Versus Mark Henry with Tony Atlas. Can't really do the Tony Atlas laugh. I don't want to get my foot in the door because Tony might get excited. Anyway, Kane, MVP, and Shelton round out the rest of this Money in the Bank ladder match, lineup. The crowd was up for this. CM Punk had won the previous year's Money in the Bank match. It was supposed to be Jeff Hardy, but then Jeff Hardy decided to be a screw-up again. Don't worry, more on Jeff Hardy later. And CM Punk got the victory there. And it was a complete car crash, as you would expect. This is back when the Money in the Bank ladder match actually felt special, because it was a Mania exclusive. And I get why they have pay-per-view for it, but the pay-per-view itself got so watered down, it got ridiculous. Hornswoggle even did a dive. Everybody had to catch the goddamn, little midget. Oh, you're supposed to call them little people. Vertically challenged, whatever. Punk won to a lot of boos, by the way. He got, there were some cheers, but a lot more boos because people wanted to see him turn heel, or they were sick of him, or, I don't know, Houston just wanted somebody else to win. Maybe they were upset that Paul Bosch's promotion got taken out by Vince McMahon. Well, actually, to be fair, Houston wrestling, even without the national expansion, probably wouldn't have lasted much past 89, because Paul Bosch was born in the early 1920s. Just saying. So anyway, Mania Access clips, various people, meeting the talents. And then Kid Rock, this phony-ass piece of shit, this goddamn rich kid that pretends to be white trash. He's got a white trash mindset. Because let's be honest, anybody that likes, how Kid Rock thinks as far as politics and everything is a goddamn idiot. And his music, honestly, some of it was catchy for its time. He ripped off Sweet Home Alabama. If only he met the same fate as Lynyrd Skynyrd, and we could bring Lynyrd Skynyrd back instead of Kid Rock. Nobody would have missed him if Kid Rock had suffered the same fate. But his fake-ass music, his phony-ass shit, the fact that he's not tough, he's not legit, he's a goddamn crackhead, looks like a goddamn slub, is a goddamn idiot. I could dump on Kid Rock all day, but, I gotta talk about wrestling. So let's talk about the fact that they gave Kid Rock 10 minutes on this pay-per-view broadcast. 10 minutes, when, honestly, if they hadn't had Kid Rock do this, it didn't seem like a lot of the crowd shots anybody really cared about Kid Rock. All the women made their entrance while his music was playing. Sure, he assaulted probably plenty of them, and the camera just didn't catch that. He looks the type. He supports the type that loves to assault women. So yeah, we have the Miss WrestleMania Battle Royal. Here are the participants. This match is not worth talking about because they basically just slapped all the women in the goddamn face. But the first one, the beautiful Alicia Fox. Tried, Derb, if you haven't been watching this. Tried. I really, really tried. So, Beth Phoenix, one of the best wrestlers of her era, and still great now, don't get me wrong, deserved a whole lot better than this. The Bellas were even in this. I'll even argue the Bellas deserve better than this, and I'm no fan of the Bellas. Eve Torres, Gail Kim. Gail Kim, by the way, who was back in the company after killing it in Impact for a bit, because Impact didn't want to pay her all that much, and I think she had a sick sibling or something, or a sibling she needed to take care of. Sister or something. Mother, I don't really quite remember, but she did that to get a big contract, and then pretty much got out of it by 2011 and went back to Impact. They didn't know what to do with Gail Kim. Also, the fact that Vince McMahon didn't think people would find Gail Kim attractive, and JR had to tell him about Asian porn. God, if that story's true. Jackie Gaeta was back here. Yeah, I forgot Jackie Gaeta actually participated in this match. I'd like to forget a lot about Jackie Gaeta's wrestling career, to be perfectly honest. Jillian Hall, who wasn't bad in the ring, and they just completely killed her with bad gimmicks. Joy Giovanni. I just remember boobs. That's what I remember with Joy Giovanni. She was back for one appearance. Katie Lee Burchill. Katie Lee Burchill bringing the producer in the goddamn room. So now the producer's got to chime in on this Women's Battle Royal. I don't know why you insist on opening the door to chime in about Katie Lee Burchill. I mean, you weren't even alive when Katie Lee Burchill was wrestling for WWE. But you watch this. You watch a little bit of this, and you are going to claw my eyes out. Watch the Speed Racer review, by the way, if you want to see him get really, really upset. But here are the others. Kelly. Yay! Okay. All right. Fine. Go ahead. Anyway, Kelly, Layla, Maria. Remember, man, Maria's still... I mean, I know this was only 14 years ago, but Maria looks exactly the same. Like, exactly the same. She's had 3 kids since then. So bravo to her. But Layla, love Layla. Layla's so great. Maurice, Melina, Michelle McCool, Mickey James, Molly Holly, Natalia, Rosa Mendez, Sunny. They had Sunny in a match. Believe it or not, Tiffany, the abuser she is, and Tori Wilson. Sunny, by the way, who's in the Hall of Fame. Still, despite the fact that she did adult films, did a whole bunch of crimes, spoke out and slandered WWE and slandered the women and all that stuff and everything. Sunny's in the Hall of Fame, and they couldn't put Chyna in the Hall of Fame because they would have seen pictures of her on the internet. Sunny, by the way, could rot. The fact that Sunny has outlived so many goddamn... I wish that Chris Candido was still here instead of Sunny, because nobody would have missed Sunny. So yeah, there was one other person, somebody in drag. It was Santino in drag. This was won by Santino in drag. Let me just say right now, Santino... Funny how he speaks out against trans people and everything, and yet his most famous moment at WrestleMania, pretty much his most famous moment besides pulling a little cocksock out of his goddamn pocket and putting it on his hand, is him in drag winning at Mania. I don't give a shit how you get down. I just find it funny that he spoke out against that. That was just so hilarious to me. So anyway, the producer's over here looking at me wondering when I'm going to actually give him a treat for torturing him, you poor thing. Yes, Santino won this. How dare you, Vince McMahon? How dare you? And this is what they were doing with the women in 2009. That wasn't that long ago, believe it or not. And I was talking to a friend of mine, and he asked, what was worse, Santino winning or Harvey Whippleman winning the women's championship as Hervina? I mean, let's be honest. If we take a look at Harvey Whippleman, nobody would ever want to see him on camera. He's a great manager, but he was scuzzy, and I felt like I need to pressure wash myself. But that being said, Harvey was never a bad guy, as far as I've heard. Him winning the women's championship is stupid. They weren't taking the women's title seriously at that point. The women were... there was a lot more talent here. I'm not saying there wasn't talent in the era when Harvey Whippleman won the championship, but the depth of talent on the women's roster there compared to here... Yes, I'll even argue the Bellas, even though the Bellas at this point were in the infancy of their career. Even a few others that shouldn't have wrestled. Tiffany and Sunny. And she definitely liked to take a lot of bumps. But anyway, she was always about business until she lost her mind. And Santino won this. Santino fucking won this goddamn match. Santino, who... his daughter better have a better head on her shoulders than he did. Because... she's going to be screwed because she ain't going to last long if she thinks like he does. And now he is in Impact. Proving that Impact will hire literally anybody. Mae Young, by the way, was there at ringside. The late insane Mae Young. And Candice is also there. Candice is going to be involved, but Candice had, I think she had another collarbone injury. That's pretty much what took her out of like being a full-time wrestler. That and possibly head injuries. I'm not sure, but I believe she was injured. That's why she was there as a guest timekeeper. Yes, Santino won this goddamn thing. Let's move on. Mickey Rourke was in the crowd for this upcoming match, where Steamboat and Piper got pops, and Jimmy Snuka looked completely lost. Renowned murderer Jimmy Snuka, who never faced a goddamn bit of justice for what he did to Nancy Argentino. Jericho wanted to take out a whole bunch of legends. This is supposed to be Jericho versus Mickey Rourke. Thank God it wasn't Jericho versus Mickey Rourke, because as the producer just noted, once I mentioned Mickey Rourke, he's like, no, I don't want to hear about Mickey Rourke. I will go eat food. Jericho took on Steamboat, Piper, and renowned murderer Jimmy Snuka, who basically just flat out said, I've had it. I've absolutely had. I'm just going to shove it in your face that I murdered her. Because we know you murdered her, Jimmy. You obviously goddamn murdered her. I mean, I gotta bring the goddamn producer over here because he's gotta say something. Because otherwise I'm gonna get banned for knocking and what I'm gonna say about renowned murderer Jimmy Snuka. I know you don't like Jimmy Snuka. You like Steamboat. Steamboat did really good, didn't he? Steamboat was out for 15 years and then came back. Ooh. Okay. Come on. Okay, go ahead. Oh, goodness. All right, anyway. So, yeah, no, he is so pissed at me. So, basically, here's the idea. I had to use the producer to break up the tension here. So, yeah, Flair was there because Flair had been beat up. There was talk of Flair actually possibly coming back, which would have been stupid. Piper at the first Mania and this Mania. That's wild. Breaks at various points, but the fact that he wrestled at the first one and wrestled at this one, and unfortunately did not live a whole lot longer and everything. And okay, let's just be perfectly honest. Piper wasn't what he was. He did throw some good stuff, did the eye poke, even did a bit of a drop kick. So at least he was doing something. Jimmy Snuka should have never been allowed to be in the ring at this point or any time after May 10th of 1983. But Vince McMahon paid off the police chief. Thank you, Vince McMahon, you scumbucket. So, yeah, Steamboat looked great after 14 years away from the ring. 14, 15, almost 15 years, because it was like summer of 94. So let me pause, folks, and I'll be right back. Note to anybody that wants to own a cat, never piss them off. Even when you pet them, even when you give them catnip and give them treats, they're going to look at you like, how dare you touch me? No. Yes, all cats, by the way, talk like Emperor Palpatine inside their head. So let's get back to this. Jimmy Snuka tapped out to the walls of Jericho. It's a damn shame he wasn't paralyzed. I don't care about saying that because that's what Jimmy Snuka deserves. How dare you? It's like, and I feel bad for Tamina because Tamina never deserved to deal with that stuff. But Jimmy Snuka deserved every bit of punishment for what he did. And that wasn't the only woman he abused, by the way. Just the only one that he murdered that we know about. So, yeah, Piper got pinned with an enziguri. And Steamboat does a dive. I mean, obviously, Steamboat wasn't going to look as crisp as he did 15 years ago, 14, 15 years ago, but he looked pretty goddamn good for 55, 56. I mean, good grief. Or, was he 50? I'm trying to remember. I think he was 40, 41 when he retired. So he was around 55, 56. So he gets a few near falls and then gets hit with a Codebreaker 1, 2, 3. And then would actually have a bit of a resurgence, would be part of the Raw after Mania, would face Jericho at Backlash 2009. It was supposed to be part of the SummerSlam main event, Team WWE versus Team Nexus, but had a brain aneurysm, I believe, and Bret Hart replaced him. And I love Bret. Bret shouldn't have been in the ring in 2010. That was very uncomfortable. Then, yeah, Flair attacks, gets laid out. Jericho gets on a mic and calls out Mickey Rourke. This took a while, a long while. And this was one of the worst celebrity involvements they've ever done because Mickey Rourke, who really just looks like a pile of leather, just, you know, in human form. It's astonishing that he's still alive. I don't know why he is. But yeah, he does a bad boxing thing with Jericho. And yeah, even though Jericho's a goddamn nut job now, I mean, at this point, he deserved a lot better than this. So then, speaking of deserving a lot better than this, Jeff Hardy versus Matt Hardy in an Extreme Rules match. This feud was stupid. This whole thing was stupid. And everybody hit each other with weapons. There was a whisper in the wind, a chair shot. Modern day Cain and Abel. Felt like, freaking eating the forbidden fruit if it would have got me out of this goddamn match. Jeff Hardy does a double table splash with Matt sandwiched in between two of them. In between them, that is. And then Jeff does a dive over a ladder, hits a leg drop that hits the ring, and then gets hit with a twist of hate, a chair, assisted twist of fate. 1, 2, 3. Yay. And then Jeff Hardy would go on to be a 2-time world champion and screw up once again, because that's all Jeff Hardy can goddamn do is screw up. And for people to say he should be given chances, he's been given chance after chance after chance after chance. I don't wish ill upon him, but he clearly has proven that he doesn't want to change and shouldn't be allowed in wrestling again. It's not conducive for him. He can't go anymore. And at this point, they were trying with him. I mean, he pretty much had to earn their respect. After getting a chance to build him, he built himself back up for Mania 24 and then got popped for a 60-day violation. Idiot. And not that he was the only one of this era. But Jeff was the star. Matt was the guy that was the worker of the team. Anyway. Yeah, this match wasn't very good. Orton is with Legacy getting ready. Cody and Ted DiBiase Jr. are there. They were Legacy. JBL cuts a promo talking about how he is going to leave and go back to New York as champion. And then Ray comes out dressed as a Joker. And King says, is he trying to pay tribute to Heath Ledger's Joker? And JR says, I think Ray's career is alive and well, King. I remember watching this live at the time. I was 28 years old. Trying to do the math in my head. And I was like, oh, that's hilarious. Fun fact, I actually watched The Dark Knight in Nampa, Idaho, back when I was at a family reunion for an at-the-time girlfriend. And I remember that theater. That theater was not very good. I wonder if that theater's still standing, because the seats literally seemed like they were built back when Abraham Lincoln went to the theater. It was actually fucking frightening how concrete-like they were. Good atmosphere. It was like a dome type. It was like, a bowl dome type area. Anyway, let's get back to this. So, yeah, Ray versus JBL. JBL attacks Ray. This is for the Intercontinental Championship. Attacks him, beats him up a bit, and then the bell rings. And then Ray gets him in the ropes, hits a 619, hits a splash off the top. 1, 2, 3, 22 seconds. And JBL wanted to do something where he would quit quickly after this. And I think Ray might have had some kind of injury where they had to keep it short. Because I know he had that feud with Jericho a little bit after this, but it seems like there were a few reasons why they kept it short. And he's like, I quit, and then the crowd cheered. Let's be perfectly honest. I mean, JBL wasn't a bad worker. JBL's just a bad person, and that's why he deserves to get ridiculed. So, we get a package on Taker versus Shawn, and Shawn's entrance ascending from the heavens, and the long entrance of Pyro, and Undertaker rising up from the depths of hell comes the Undertaker. And the crowd was up for this. I'm not going to get into a long dissertation about this match, or a long description, or a long whatever thing that you want to say, or whatever term you want to say. I'm going to say this is the greatest match in WrestleMania history, and for 30 minutes, just over 30 minutes, these two took the fans, both live and watching, and fans now, on an incredible ride. I've said what I said about Undertaker, and I still stand by it. The guy's a narrow-minded prick as far as his views of the world and everything. And him caving Canyon's head in was goddamn bullshit. Caving it in just because he was gay. And you can say it wasn't the case. It was. And a lot of other shit that he did. But you know what? The guy performed at Mania. I mean, one thing you can say, he definitely performed at Mania. No, he turned it up at Mania. And Shawn Michaels, I will continue to say, was a goddamn prick in the 90s. He admits that, and he traded one addiction for another. Drugs for religion. It's all bullshit. But it fixed him. Didn't fix his vision after the summer of 2004, but nevertheless, this match was incredible. The best match in Mania history. From the very beginning, great shit. Great counters, strikes, chops. Taker's chest was red. Shawn kept fighting back, being defiant. We got a cross face at one point. Hide your wives, hide your kids. We got a missed moonsault. Taker did a dive, and they blamed Sim Snuka, who was a cameraman. He was supposed to catch Undertaker. The way Undertaker was coming, gross, he was going to hit anyway. They had Sim way too far out. he needed to be about 2 feet closer. And if Undertaker overshot him, at least he would have landed on Sim, and he wouldn't have landed before him. I'm just saying, I don't know if this was necessarily all his fault. I think it was ridiculous that they did that. And that was Sim Snook as a cameraman. But then we get a near count out and everything, and oh my God, and Taker's head did crack on the goddamn floor. So it's a good thing he's all right. But near count out, and then the big moves get broken out. And we're almost 20 minutes in this match, and this match flew by. Flying by like crazy. We get the first tombstone. 1, 2, kick out, big pop. We get, a last ride. We get various other things. We get one Sweet Chin music. Great shit. That was just great goddamn stuff. The face when he did the tombstone though, just the shocked face. I can't even do it. I just had an out of body experience. JR said, and just a great DDT spike by Shawn. Hit a second Sweet Chin music just for 2. This was cooking, roaring, great shit, incredible action. And then second tombstone catch, 1, 2, 3, huge pop. Crowd was done. Crowd had no energy left. That should have closed the goddamn show. It's the second time that a Triple H main evented show with a singles match for a championship, main evented show, and a match stole it before that. I mean, because there was Mania 18. Nobody remembers that Triple H and Jericho was the main event because the main event was Rock versus Hogan. Then, yes, you can say whatever you want about both of them, but that was the main event. That was the match, that was the attraction, and it was goddamn great. And this was goddamn great. And should have closed the show because nothing could have followed that. These two tore the goddamn house down. 17-0, and Frank, for once, learned how to operate the smoke machine. Man, Frank has been there for a while in WWE. Nobody gets that unless you've been watching the channel for a while. Frank, turn off the smoke machine. You had one job. So anyway, Edge and Big Show make their entrance. Unfortunately, Vicky Guerrero was there in a wheelchair. It's a damn shame she wasn't confined to a wheelchair for real. I know that sounds mean, but she's a goddamn bitch and a goddamn, right-wing crackpot, and she deserves that shit. Because if you're going to think that way and agree ideologically with the person like that, you deserve that. You deserve every bit of ridicule because you hate people, and I can turn that hatred right on anybody. So yeah, there you go. I'm pretty certain I'll open myself up to hate. I don't really give a shit. Chavo was also there. That concussed moron that tried to defend Chris Benoit. Chavo, Eddie should still be here instead of you, because at least Eddie was good in the ring. So anyway, he was better as Kerwin White. So then Cena's clone army showed up, and Cena ran down to the ring, which was a great visual. It was a great visual of him just running through a sea of huge manatees. Not the last manatee. Karen, if you're watching this, I'm sorry. But that was quite the visual. Cena versus Edge versus Big Show, triple threat match for the World Championship. And let's be perfectly honest. This match is only notable for a few bits of action. And Cena picking up Big Show while Edge had him in a sleeper. And briefly holding both on his shoulders. He held like 750... Big Show might have been about 450 at that point, so it might have been about 700 pounds. Still 700 goddamn pounds on his shoulders. And then Edge slumped off, which is probably smart because it wouldn't have gone all that well with the Big Show landing on him. Before that, Vicky took a really bad bump. If only she had taken an ST plunge like Cactus did, but not gotten back up. So, I don't like Vicky Guerrero, in case you wonder. So, nevertheless, Cena ends up hitting an AA to Edge on the Big Show and covers 1, 2, 3. That's about it for the match. Hall of Fame inductions of Von Erichs. Well, the one, because unfortunately Kevin was the only one alive of the original family. The Funks, Terry and Dory. Coco Beware. Bill Watts. Howard Finkel. It was, God, poor Fink. I feel bad that Fink's health took such a decline. Steamboat and Austin. And it's cool to see them all on stage. And then Austin comes down and celebrates. Beer Bash, ATV, all that and everything. Does that. That was something. See, if they had cut out the Kid Rock performance and just had that would have been really cool. I mean, Austin deserves it. Even though Austin did beat 2 of his wives. But at least Austin drew money. So at least there's that. Money trumps all things, especially wife beating. That being said, see, I love wrestling. I just don't love the fact that certain things get swept under the rug or pick and choosing happens. So moving on from that, Orton makes his entrance. Triple H makes his entrance by shattering a mirror, which kind of looked a little stagey when you saw it. They just had a mirror thing out there in the entranceway, but nevertheless, it was Orton versus Triple H, WWE Championship match. But if Triple H gets counted out or disqualified, he loses the title. This is after Orton has punted Vince, DDT'd Stephanie, kissed her. That was on the show, I believe, right after Elimination Chamber that was in Spokane, if I recall correctly. That Raw in Spokane in February. Look at the path, as far as taking the mountain path to Spokane. In the winter. Not smart. Spokane, kind of isolated out there. Big city full of bullshit. Sorry, but Spokane is not a very good city. Anyway, he did that. Triple H broke into his home. All this stuff. You wanted to have a personal fight. And they did this stipulation. And they had to do where old Triple H couldn't have the advantage and couldn't have this. And it just ended up being method acto. And this match wasn't good. This is 24 minutes. And not good. Not good at all. We get a ref bump. Triple H uses a sledgehammer. Hits a bunch of mounted punches after 20 goddamn. This is 25 minutes. And it felt 25 minutes. And it felt like 50. And he's in a bunch of mounted punches. Referee Scott Armstrong, #hardbody. Ref is trying to get Triple H to stop, and he's like, "Arr!" And then he ends up hitting a pedigree, 1, 2, 3. And that's it. That's it for WrestleMania 25. Goodness me. Shawn versus Taker should have closed the goddamn show, because it was incredible and great, and the best match in Mania history. The rest of the card has ups and downs. By the end, it was almost face down on the goddamn ground. Much like Jackie Von Erich. Moving on from that, let's just close with that joke and just say, do you agree, disagree with what I said? Like, share, subscribe, Twitter handle in the description. I'm John Ritlin. I'll see you soon.